Let's dive into the vibrant world of Carnevale. While many people think of the famous masks of Venice or the beads of New Orleans, there's actually a much deeper, more authentic connection between those two worlds than most people realize. We are going to move past the tourist clichés, like this mask, to find the authentic, continuous traditions that link Italy to the Big Easy. And how can you bring some of those traditions into your own Mardi Gras and Carnevale celebrations? Hi there, I am Jacqueline for Vero. Now you can recognize me that I've taken off the mask. And we go around the world searching out wild and scarce, hard to find wines, olive oils, and foods to bring to the US for wine lovers, foodies, businesses, and distributors across the country to discover and enjoy along with us. And we just love to find ways to connect traditions, wines, foods, and people from all over the world. And we think that Mardi Gras, or Carnevale, as it's called in Italy, is a great way to see blending of these traditions. Between Mardi Gras traditions in New Orleans and Italian traditions of Carnevale, there are lots of similarities, but also a lot of beautiful differences. In Italy, the tradition of Carnevale is fairly ancient and rooted in actually the ancient Roman Saturnalia, a time of kind of the world being turned upside down. Social hierarchies were dissolved and more freedoms reigned. While the Venice Carnevale is famous globally, it's actually had a hiatus for a couple of hundred years before being revived in the 70s as a tourist-driven event. To find the continuous living history of Carnevale in Italy, you need to look towards the local traditions that have never stopped. We see these local traditions in things like the political satire of the Via Reggio floats or the neighborhood parades in Bologna, where the festivities really kick in on Giovedì Grasso, or Fat Thursday, the Thursday before Martedì Grasso, or Fat Tuesday. And in New Orleans, the Mardi Gras tradition is deeply rooted as well. It really gained traction with the French and Spanish Creole immigrants, and later became formalized into the crews that we know today, these social organizations that will spend a whole year planning the upcoming year's Mardi Gras festivities. The gala balls, the parades, the costumes, and so much more that when we think of traditional Mardi Gras, we think of those things. And the Carnevale and Mardi Gras actually comes from, of course, religious backgrounds, where Martedì Grasso, or Fat Tuesday, will fall just before Lent as kind of a last hurrah before those days of fasting and penance before Easter. Now back to the celebrations. While we see some similarities, costumes, masks, parades, there is actually a fascinating contrast in the vibe between New Orleans and the Italian celebrations. For example, back to Venice, the atmosphere is theatrical and it's serious, exemplified by one of the more iconic masks, or the Medico della Pesta. It's a plague doctor mask that has that bird-like beak that's really iconic when you think about the Venice Carnevale. But in New Orleans, the atmosphere is a little different. It's about pure, unadulterated joy. It's about also the throws, or the beads, the frisbees, and the high-stakes prizes that will be thrown off of the floats to people down below. Catching one is a big deal, like catching a bride's bouquet at a wedding almost. They can be things like a glittering shoe or a hand-painted coconut, depending on the crew. Each crew will have their own big prize. Yet in both places, Italy and New Orleans, we are going to see amazing dresses and costumes. Italians will dress in historic finery with mega gowns and wigs, and New Orleans will spend months hand-sewing outrageous costumes for our parades and festivals. In New Orleans, this will all culminate in the formal balls at midnight on Fat Tuesday, marking the official end of the Mardi Gras season's celebrations. The taste of Carnevale. Of course, you can't have costumes, parades, and balls without the food to fuel them. But before we get into delicious flavors of the season, I just have a quick tip for you. You can subscribe to the Vero newsletter, where we send out our latest blog posts and any other news like exclusive product drops. You can sign up for free on verovino.com, which is linked in the description below. That newsletter subscription, plus a subscribe here on YouTube, make sure that you will never miss any more great content, information, and products from Vero. But now let's talk about the Fat and Fat Tuesday, or Mardi Gras in Italy. Both Italy and New Orleans will celebrate with those rich, indulgent foods that we know and love. For sweets, in Italy, you will find fried treats like Sfrappole, or pieces of sweet fried bread dough that will be covered in powdered sugar. They can be called different names depending on where you are in Italy. They can be chiacchiere in Milan or central and southern Italy, bugie, where I live, in Piedmont, or also Sfrappole, coming from Bologna. Meanwhile, in New Orleans, the season is not complete without a king cake. It is an iconic cinnamon cake, like a cinnamon roll or cinnamon brioche in a ring topped with purple, green, and gold sugar. Inside, there will be a plastic baby hiding. If you find that hidden surprise in your slice, you are very lucky and will be hosting the next king cake party. Now for the wine. If we follow food and wine pairing principles that we've talked a lot about before on this channel, when we pair wines with sweets like these, we want to look for a like-to-like flavor profile. You want a wine with enough sweetness and acidity to help provide a refreshing lift to those fried doughs and sugary glazes. So look for a low alcohol, slightly sparkling, sweet wine that will make those desserts truly sing. Just make sure you get a good one, like those in the Vero shop on verovino.com, because they will be well balanced with enough acidity and sapidity to not be overly cloying, especially when we consider pairing them with those sweet bugie from Italy or a king cake from New Orleans. And we can't forget the savory side. Remember, New Orleans is world famous for the heat of gumbo and jambalaya. So to stand up to all that Creole spice, you need a wine that won't get drowned out. So one strategy is to go with a fruity, intense white wine that will be full-bodied and complex. Or you can reach for a super juicy, low tannin red wine also to help balance out the spice. At the end of the day, whether it's a small production wine from a hidden Italian hillside or a hand-painted parade float in the French Quarter, Mardi Gras and Carnevale are all about the artisan spirit, the one that we here at Vero love and admire. So be sure to check out the Vero blog on verovino.com for our blog all about Mardi Gras traditions in Italy, in New Orleans, and of course around the world, for a little bit of Carnevale inspiration. And of course, the Vero shop is there to stock up on wines, olive oils, and specialty foods to help you recreate a little bit of Carnevale and Mardi Gras magic in your own home. But of course, the most important part of these traditions is to be sure to gather with friends, share stories, and open a bottle that has a story of its own. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe both here on YouTube and to the Vero newsletter on verovino.com. We are always excited to be able to share more wine and specialty food tips, tricks, and products. I will leave you with this video here for more wine and food discoveries. Bye!